Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. In today's video, I want to talk about why the price of silver may be moving much higher in the near future. I'm going to go over 4 factors that are currently developing that have the potential to stimulate significant demand for precious metals, and why investors at large may soon be seeking out the safety of gold and silver in a big way. So, let's get to it. First of all, I do want to say a big thank you for tuning into my video. If you like videos about gold and silver, then please give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you can see more videos like this one. Alright, factor number 1 that could drive silver much higher: geopolitical instability. As far as global stability goes, 2022 is off to a rough start, and it looks like it could get much worse. Just look at the worsening situation in Ukraine. Russia is building up troops on the border and demanding Ukraine not become part of NATO, and it looks as though the Western military alliance is not going to back down. Things are getting so dicey there that the State Department is now evacuating its personnel from the capital, and Ukrainian frontline troops are bracing for what they now feel is an inevitable attack. The Biden administration is also now considering moving thousands of U.S. troops into the theater, so things could turn hot there in a hurry. And I think it's a safe bet that if the US does get embroiled in a European military conflict, China will be licking its chops and viewing it as an opportunity to make their move on Taiwan. In an ongoing game of brinksmanship, the US and China have both been increasingly conducting military operations near the island nation. And China has made no secret of its ambition to invade and retake control of Taiwan, which it views as its sovereign territory. Perhaps of biggest concern for the global economy is the fact that Taiwan manufactures over 60% of global semiconductor supply. Compare that to about 12% manufactured in the United States. There was even a paper published by the U.S. Army War College recently suggesting that in the wake of a Chinese invasion, Taiwan should adopt a scorched earth policy and destroy its semiconductor manufacturing facilities. If something like that happens, forget about supply chain disruptions. It could be decades before the global economy recovers. If you think it's been hard to get a laptop computer or some common household appliances over the past year, today's supply situation will look like absolute abundance if Taiwan's semiconductor industry is put out of commission for a lengthy period of time. And Ukraine and Taiwan are only the biggest potential conflicts as 2022 gets underway. Fighting is still going on in Syria, Yemen, and a number of other hotspots around the world. And as tensions rise, investors will be looking for safety and security. And there is no better insurance against economic uncertainty than gold and silver. Factor number 2, inflation. Inflation has been a big story all throughout 2021, and now as we enter into 2022, things are not getting much better. The year-over-year CPI for 2021 was 7%, a number we have not seen since 1982. The worst year on record for the CPI was 1980, when it hit 13.1. But the thing is, the CPI was calculated using a different methodology back then, and if you apply the 1980 formula today, you get a CPI closer to 15% than 7%. This means that 2021 was actually the worst year for inflation on record. And although the Fed continues to promise to get inflation under control, I don't buy it. Back during the inflation of the 80s, Fed Chairman Paul Volcker had to jack interest rates up as high as 20% to get inflation under control. Compare that to the plan the Fed under Jerome Powell has proposed of raising interest rates 2% over the next 2 years. At this point, the Fed is in a no-win situation. If they actually raise rates enough to get inflation under control, they'll prick all the asset bubbles we've got and destroy astronomical amounts of paper wealth. If they don't, inflation will spiral out of control. One important factor to consider here is the $30 trillion U.S. national debt. If the Fed jacks rates up in an attempt to save the purchasing power of the dollar, it could trigger a U.S. debt default. There's no way we can afford to pay anywhere near 20% interest on $30 trillion. However, if they go the other route and allow inflation to run out of control, all that debt can be repaid in worthless fiat dollars printed out of nowhere, a nice easy out for politicians who undoubtedly will find some kind of scapegoat for the raging inflation we are almost sure to experience. As investors at large begin to realize that there is no way the Fed can put the inflation genie back in the bottle, gold and silver will become increasingly attractive as a hard store of value that can't be printed into oblivion. And as more and more dollars are printed, it will take far more of them to buy an ounce of real money. Factor number 3, sector rotation. Over the past decade, and the past 2 years in particular, huge bubbles have been inflated in a number of speculative assets. Stay-at-home and tech stocks such as Netflix, Zoom, and Facebook were all bid up to extraordinarily high multiples as the Fed unleashed a tsunami of fiat stimulus. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies were also bid sky high. But as you can see from their 2022 year-to-date charts, the air is now coming out of these asset bubbles. Although the Fed has not yet begun to meaningfully tighten monetary policy, the mere fact that they have been talking about doing so has been enough to prick these bubbles. My forecast is that although the small rate hikes proposed by the Fed will not be enough to get inflation under control, they will be enough to cause investors to unload these risky speculative assets. And with inflation continuing to worsen as we get through 2022, those same investors will be looking for a safe place to put all that cash. And for that, they will be looking to commodities, value stocks, and most of all, gold and silver. As all that currency out there begins to flow into the precious metals, we are going to see some big moves upward. Factor number 4, more stimulus and a digital dollar. The fourth developing factor that could lead to a big move up in the precious metals is the possibility of the adoption of a digital dollar. The Fed has been talking about creating a CBDC, or central bank digital currency, for years now. Just last week, they published a paper weighing the pros and cons of just such a move, and now Congress is taking a look at it. In my view, it's only a matter of time before the Fed makes a move like this and creates a digital dollar. Central bankers and politicians love the idea of planning and micromanaging the economy, and what better tool to do so than a digital currency that can be created at will and 100% tracked and monitored. Rather than having to use the cumbersome mechanism of the IRS to distribute stimulus checks, at the touch of a button, worthless digital fiat currency could be instantly deposited into the online wallets of every American with ease if we had a digital dollar. And more stimulus is almost certainly on the way. If we see a significant pullback in markets as the Fed begins to actually raise rates, we may see them have to quickly reverse course and readopt their policies of asset purchases and low rates. The thing about monetary stimulus is, each round has to be larger than the last in order for it to be effective. Whatever the next crisis is that roils markets, it will almost certainly be a scapegoat for more stimulus, and the Fed and politicians may just wait for the American people to be clamoring for economic relief before they unleash it. What form that will take, I don't know, but it will almost certainly be bigger than the last round, and the last round was pretty big. Perhaps instead of stimulus checks, we'll finally see the implementation of universal basic income or something along those lines. I'm sure zombie companies and special interests will also get some nice chunks of cash, and a digital dollar would make all of that a lot easier for the Fed. Of course, we already have $30 trillion in debt, and any kind of future stimulus will almost certainly cause that figure to balloon in size, but I don't think that will stop it from happening. One thing that may change, however, is that the next time around, investors may realize that none of these measures are truly temporary, and that the writing is on the wall, and the dollar's days as the world reserve currency are numbered. And that means sound money, gold, and silver will become increasingly attractive as a way to protect wealth, and that means the metals will be getting bid much higher. So those are 4 factors that I believe will drive gold and silver much higher in the near future. Any one of these factors could be enough to stimulate significant demand for the safety and wealth preservation that precious metals provide, and taken together, they could be a perfect storm for us silver stackers. What do you think the biggest factors affecting the price of silver will be in 2022? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, then check out these right here. Thank you all very much for watching. I will catch you next time. Smart Silver Stacker, out.